I'm wondering, is that a good deal or not? So put that away for a second. We'll talk about a couple other features. We'll talk about me sharpening this guy and the Magna Cut steel, and then we'll look at whether or not this knife makes sense. So this is a smaller EDC knife from Kershaw. It is made in the USA, which is sweet. It has Magna Cut steel, it has aluminum scales, and it has a sliding bar lock. They call it the Duralock. It's an Axis style lock. It is neutral, so it's comfortable. It is on the smaller side, so it's very manageable, very pocketable, and the action on it is really good. The spring tension on the Duralock, I think, is done right. It is on the medium to heavy side. If you're looking to see if it will come out, it won't come out on a light shake. You can really fling it and get it to come out, but in the real world, that's not going to happen. So I think it is beyond adequate. Like I said, it's on the medium to strong side, which means when you deploy it, it fires right out. Feels really, really good when you do that. And being ambidextrous, you can do that both left and right-handed with no problems. The clip, you can switch to the other side. So if you're a lefty, you get the lefty love there and get to enjoy this knife in your left-handed configuration. As far as the size go, I've already mentioned that it is on the smaller side. We'll just really quick look at it next to a Para 3. So you can see it's a little bit smaller than the Para 3, unless you include the pocket clip on the Bel-Air, which does stick out past the scale. Then it's almost the same size. This guy weighs 2.9 ounces, if I recall, on my scale. The blade, the cutting edge is, I think it was 2 7/8 as I measured it. The inner grip was 3 3/8, and overall, I want to say it was like 7 1/4. The fit and finish is very nice. The coating on the aluminum scales looks really good, and it feels good, although I do wish it had more traction. So with that being said, I appreciate the step milling and the chamfering that goes all the way around, the little bit of jimping on the inner part of the handle there, because those little things go a long way to give you some extra security when you are holding this knife. It does have jimping on the spine, which also adds to that, but I wish that jimping went out a little farther. Kind of like if you look at this is the O knife for Batu, you see that guy goes all the way out there. So I can naturally stick my thumb and it is on the jimping there, versus with the Bel-Air, when I stick my thumb on here, it is past the jimping. I've got to bring my thumb back like that, which is fine. I can do it. It's not a deal breaker, but it's also not a very natural way for me to hold the knife if I want to get the benefit of that jimping that is. You're really not going to thump on this thing. Look at how thin that blade stock is. This is not made for heavy duty tasks. Look at how acute the tip is. I mean, this guy is really, really pointy. As Stasa likes to say, it's a pokey tip. It always cracks me up. But it's got a really, really thin profile, which means it is an excellent slicer. Look at that. When I turn it sideways like that, you almost can't even see it on the camera. Super thin. The plunge grind on here is good, especially with as thin as the blade is. It's far back enough and the blade is thin enough that you can get a bunch of sharpenings out of here without worrying about getting that smile and getting thick as you sharpen. Aesthetic, I think, is okay. It's, the blade shape is awesome. The handle, meh. Overall, it's, like I said, it's kind of neutral, so nothing really to write home about. The black wash finish on the blade looks really cool. The thumb studs are, pretty standard. Everything on here is, for the most part, par for the course. Billboarding on the pocket clip, white lettering there, not really a fan of that. But it is a deep carry, a super deep carry. Look at that, goes past the butt of the handle with recessed screws, which is nice. So in and out of the pocket, this guy's perfect. I really wish they would have just made that flush, that pocket clip with the end. Does it really need to carry that deeply? Not for me. If it does for you, okay, then yeah, you would love this. We've got T6 hardware on the clip, the body screws, and on the pivot, it is a T8. Now, Lefty did disassemble this, and he said it was a pain in the rear. With the Loctite that was on there, it was very frustrating for him to take this thing apart. When he did get it apart, he did install skiff bearings, so this guy is running on bearings. I don't think the skiffs really made a difference. He did send the stock bearings, but I'm not going to bother taking it apart to figure out the difference between the two. Most reports on skiffs is that sometimes they make a difference, sometimes they don't. When they do make a difference, it's not like night and day. Sure, it's an improvement, but it's not like it'll knock your socks off kind of thing. So on this MagnaCut steel, one thing that I noticed when I was sharpening this guy, well, first of all, let me say this. I was surprised Lefty used it enough to dull the edge. MagnaCut's supposed to have like uber, edge retention. What's up with that? Did he really use it that much to dull this thing out, or is there something else going on? I don't know. But what I can tell you is the first time I sharpened this, yes, I sharpened it twice. The first time I sharpened this, I didn't change any angles. I didn't go, super rough grit. I started at like 400 and then worked up to 800. And then I honed it on the ceramics and then stropped it after that. And the edge was really pretty. It was really, really sharp. I was pretty excited about it. I cut some paper. I was doing, ribbons and curlicues and, all the sharpening things. And then I started cutting cardboard. And it cut the cardboard just fine. However, when I went back to cutting paper, the fine edge was gone. And I didn't cut that much cardboard. Now, how much did I cut? I cut a few boxes. I wasn't measuring it. I'm sorry, I don't have that metric, but it's not like I was out there all day just breaking down cardboard. I cut a few boxes down. I went back and checked the edge, and it was getting snagged on paper. And so I went ahead, I looked at this guy using my microscope. I've got this pocket Wi-Fi microscope. It's super handy, not only for looking at edges, but any other kind of sciencey type stuff. That guy was like $30. I did a video on that. It's really cool. Anyway, so I'm looking at this guy in the microscope, and I'm seeing microchips. So that was a little disappointing. I went ahead and resharpened it, and I did two things to kind of counter what I saw. One is I instead of doing the factory, this was at 20 degrees. I actually backed it off. I went to 21 degrees. Usually, when you get other, knives with thicker stock, a lot of times people want to bring the factory, which is often at like 25 degrees, down to 20 or 18 or even 15. This guy having a really thin blade stock and already coming at 20 degrees, and me not changing that and sharpening it and seeing those chips, I thought, man, I don't know what's going on, but I want to give it a little more stability. So I backed it off to 21 degrees, and I stopped at 600 grit. So I didn't go any farther. I said, you know what, let me not get too polished. Let me just go ahead and get a rough, toothy edge, as they say, a working edge, and see how that holds up. And so far, it's actually held up better. So that was definitely reassuring. And so I had expectations coming into this that were not met. I thought it was going to be a little more enjoyable to sharpen. The thing that I had heard about MagnaCut was that, it's not like your 20 CVs and your, M390s or whatever, in that they're, super hard. Not that they're super hard, but they're more difficult to sharpen. And this was supposed to be, much, much easier to sharpen. Now, it was a little easier than 20 CV, M390, etc., but not that much. It did take some effort to get this thing to perform the way that I wanted it to. Now it's good to go, but it wasn't like, bang, bang, like I thought it might be. Now, maybe that is me just kind of buying into the hype. Probably so. But, do with that information what you will. So on a, 800 grit and a ceramic and a strop, at 20 degrees, I was getting microchipping. It lost its fine edge really quickly. It did not strop back to what it should have been. So I backed it off to 21. I ran it to 600 grit only, just did some light stropping after that, and it's much better now. So unfortunately, I do have to pass this knife off to another channel, so I don't get the benefit of long-term experience with how this edge holds up. If anybody's interested, Kershaw's Magna Cut, on their website, they're saying they're running it between 60 and 63. Again, do with that what you want. So, moving on to the value component. If you don't care about geography, this knife doesn't make sense. $160. This is a O-Knife Rabatu. This is $80 or $85, somewhere around there. Made in China, made in the USA. Yes, I'm not here to really go into that. Okay, I'm very much a supporter of USA made stuff, and when I can, I buy American, but I also don't mind buying Chinese stuff, especially considering when I'm using my phone or my computer or my TV or my car or my refrigerator or my washing machine or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All those things are made in China. Okay. If I could, I would buy that stuff in America. But the fact of the matter is, stuff in America, made in America, is more expensive. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just more expensive. It is what it is. It should be the other way around, but it's not, okay? So $80 for the Rabatu, $160 for the Bel-Air, and they're basically the same knife. Yes, this one has Magna Cut steel, which, okay, that's great. I think in most people's experience, it's not going to make a difference. From that perspective, it just can't compete. I do like this knife. I think it's cool. It's a little vanilla, but it's made by Kershaw in the US, and that's badass. Magna Cut steel, the jury's still out for me. We'll see if I end up getting my own Magna Cut in the future and if I have any different experience with it. But that's all I want to say for now, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for liking and commenting and subscribing and doing all the things. And other than that, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. See ya.